the internet. I got the internet in my hand. I got the internet. Cal has a drinking problem. Hi everyone, Anthony Tano here, internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review. Dope Body, Natural History. Dope Body is a rock quartet from Maryland, and if I'm not mistaken, this is their third full-length LP, and first for the legendary underground record label, Drag City Records. Now, Drag City has a very long-standing history of fronting for some pretty experimental bands in the worlds of rock and folk music as well, and Dope Body is no different. So let me try to describe their latest LP as kind of a whole. To me, Natural History has an even blend of sounds from the worlds of hardcore punk, sludge metal, noise rock as well, and post-hardcore. But the album doesn't really have the brooding and intense and just angry attitude that sometimes is tagged on with those genres. Because blended with these very intense styles of music is this upbeat, fun-loving, party rock attitude that comes with a song like Twisted Sister's "We're Not Gonna Take It, No, we ain't gonna take it." Basically, shining through all the aggression on this album are some really nice dance grooves and a little bit of cowbell and some really staccato, quirky guitar leads. It's just they take all of these abrasive sounds and execute them with the most primal simplicity imaginable, but then still end up making this album feel like a celebration. These guys will put out a track on this album like the song Beat, which is slow and heavy and lumbering. Crashing riffs, drums and guitars syncopated, every hit feels like a ball-peen hammer on the top of your skull. But then they'll kind of turn around and do a track like Twice the Life, which has these bouncy guitars with this really bright sheen on them that makes me feel like I'm listening to some calypso music, some kind of tropical island punk rock. To go further into this good mood kind of feel that this album has, the song Weird Mirror has this chord progression, and wailing guitars over the chorus chords that I feel like I've heard somewhere else in some kind of classic rock song, something that makes me go, woo, yeah, yeah, woo. And the song Out of My Mind has these very sludgy, heavy riffs, but they're surrounded in these very noodly, bouncy, kind of silly harmonized guitar leads. It's kind of like seeing the darkest, most brutal metal band you can imagine in your head, this visual playing in front of you, but then mid-set, all these balloons and this multicolored confetti just comes raining down onto the crowd, and so inappropriate. Do you know what I'm getting at? I mean, yeah, this album is rough, it's tough, it tumbles, but it still ends up kind of feeling like the most fun, exciting, sweaty, take your shirt off basement rock show you've been to in a while. And then afterwards, everybody goes outside and starts lighting a bonfire and then dancing around it in unison in some kind of underground rock pagan ritual. And every track on here is fronted with these vocals, man. These vocals. It's like a cross between listening to Andrew WK and a caveman. The vocals on this thing scream and they groan and they bellow and they go, but not in anger, my friends. Not in anger. Out of liberation instead, I would say. It's eccentric. It's a rock monstrosity. It's a rock and roll mutant. It feels very modern in that it takes ideas from so many styles and blends them to the point where it's difficult to tell where one ends and another begins. This is made even more difficult because the band really does have a strong personality that permeates every single track. But despite this modernness, Dope Body manages to just tune into a wavelength, a very primordial wavelength. Now, even though Dope Body does progress across natural history with a good amount of variety, nearly every track on here functions on a basic principle. Find a groove that's gonna make people move and then hit it in the weirdest way possible. Like the song Road Dog, which has these sliding guitar noises all over the track, just emphasizing the rhythm as well as... And the song Powder, which has these guitar sounds in them. They could be harmonics, it could just be a weird effect that bounces throughout the track. The dance grooves on this record are so herky-jerky and just contorting in ways I didn't think dance music usually did, if you would even go as far as to call this album that. And there's some great interplay on this record too. I mean, on these songs, it really sounds like the band is playing live. They're really rocking out together, and there's an indescribable energy to that. On the track Out of My Mind toward the end, these guys are really hitting it hard on the climax of the song. And the track Lazy Slave, when that ends, the band is playing together just so tightly and building the song into this mountain of drum fills and guitar noises and shrieking vocals. The production on this LP is pretty good. It pretty much just gets the job done. It does have a nice heaviness to it so that when the band does do something slow and just lumbering, there is that beef, there is that pomp to kind of really bring the track home. There is also a smidge of reverb on a lot of the sounds here, which doesn't drown anything out. It's just an extra sound, but when the band really starts jamming hard, it allows everything to kind of bleed into one another very subtly. The production on this thing is pretty basic, but I would argue it doesn't really need to be much more than what it is, because Dope Body's vocals, their grooves, their songs, and their guitar riffs don't really need any window dressing because they are so eccentric and strange to begin with. As far as issues on this LP go, you know, I didn't really care for the first track all that much. It is slow, it is heavy, and it does have some very interesting chimes kind of just twinkling away. But the noisy guitars making these indescribable sounds at this very slow pace, as well as the very lethargic vocals, it just didn't do too much for me. It just felt a bit directionless, dragged on, and the track just kind of fades out in a very underwhelming way before I really feel like it did much of anything to make it all that memorable, other than start the album, I guess. This album's just fantastic. It's just fun. It's just fun to me. It's just freaking fun. It's fun. I just want to put it on and go, Kind of feeling a strong 8 to a light 9 on this album. Damn, it's good. Damn. But what do you guys think of it? Have you heard it? If so, did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? And what should I take the time to review next? Thanks for watching. Anthony Fantano, Dope Body.